Um, I hope that helped. But man, I'm still learning too, really, when it comes to spiritual warfare. If I could give you a reference, if you go on, I think it's marshill.org, Mark Driscoll, pastor of a church called Mars Hill, he did a 3-part series on spiritual warfare. I've listened to that a few times. I feel like that's very helpful if you want to know more about spiritual warfare. I think it's Mars Hill, Mark Driscoll. Just if you type in Mark Driscoll on YouTube, spiritual warfare, you'll probably get that, and that's a good. I think there's some good stuff in there, really helpful about spiritual warfare. Um, yeah, Mars Hill Church. John sent it in the link if you're on the chat. marshillchurch.org. It's good. It's good stuff. I mean, there's, he speaks from from the scriptures and then also from experience, and I think he has a balanced view. Good, has good things to say. Let me answer this other question. Somebody said on here, Tim, Romans 8:31. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Okay, 1 second. Let me. Chief, love you, man. Let me look on here real quick and remember what he's saying in response to. Okay. Paul goes basically through this list. Those God calls, or those he predestined, he calls. Those he calls, he justifies, glorifies. So basically, he just goes from that process of it was God who started this thing. He chose you, and he'll see you through to glory. He'll see you through to heaven. In that glorified state, when he totally and completely makes you like Jesus and takes away sin and wipes away every tear. And so basically you just have the setup of, man, God, if you're a Christian, God has you. Okay, and then he says, what shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? And he's asking a question, but he's implying something in there, that if God is for you, no one can be against you. And now, he's not saying that you won't have enemies, because Jesus said, all men will hate you because of me. So he's not saying, hey, if God's for you, everyone's going to love you. That's not what he's saying. But it's basically like, okay, I'll give you an example. I don't know if Mason Cornwell is watching this right now, but this is awesome. When he, he's a KKSM guy. I don't know, I'm sure some of you guys watching this know Mason. He's a beast. I remember one time back when I was probably like 17, 18, he told me, I can't remember the exact words, but he basically was like, hey, if anybody messes with you, I got your back. And that kind of was like, all right, like that helped a lot, because I was like, I'm kind of a scrawny guy, like, I'm not a fighter, and he just goes, Mace just goes, hey, if anybody messes with you, I got you. And that was just awesome. I mean, Mace is cool like that. I mean, yeah, burliest of the burl, right? And so I think of it like that, but in a much greater sense, because how much bigger is God than Mace, than anybody? Okay, he says, if God is for you, who can be against you? When you got God on your side, like if you look through the Old Testament, I mean, there's these amazing stories of like Israel about to go into battle, and they're outnumbered, and then God goes, yeah, I'm going to fight for you. And there's times that Israel didn't even lift a finger. God just caused their enemies to just turn on each other. Okay, just to lose their minds and lose it on each other and defeat themselves. And so I think that's what the Bible's saying. Like, when God is for you, it doesn't matter who comes against you, because when someone comes against God's people, they're coming against God. If you look in the book of Acts, I can't remember the chapter. John, maybe you know this one. But basically, you had these, I think it was these religious leaders trying to basically shut down Christianity. And then someone peeped up and was basically like, hey, be careful, because you might find yourself fighting against God. Like, if God's not in this thing will just fall apart. Like, there have been other revolts in the past. They've come up, they've raised up for a time, and then they've just fizzled out. But they go, if God is in this, if God's doing this, you're going to find yourself fighting against God. And when you and God fight, you lose every time. And so I think that's I think that's kind of what the Bible's saying here, is that, man, if God is on your side, it doesn't matter who's against you, because God is a beast. I think Exodus says, the Lord is a man of war, the Lord is his name. So you have nothing to fear when people come against you. I mean, David in the book of Psalms, so an army rise against me, encamped on every side, I will not fear. I mean, how can you not fear when an army is encamped against you? His trust was in the Lord. So with our God, the Psalms say, with our God we shall do valiantly. So it's all about Him, all His strength. That was the one Pharisee, yeah. So James in the council, yeah. So you're coming against God. If you're coming against God, you're not going to win this one. So I hope that helped. Does anybody else have anything else? Maybe we can wrap this up. Maybe one more question. I don't want to wear out my welcome here. I want you guys to come back next week. I think I pretty much answered most of the questions on there. Does anybody have anything else? Crackers? Girlfriend? Talk to me on Facebook about that one. Okay. Okay, yes, it's a weekly thing. So I'm planning on coming on next Monday as well. So yes on that. And then my plans, and back to Michigan. I'll talk about, maybe I can talk about that one next week. I want to answer what someone said and the one above. How much does God love us? That's more than we'll ever know. But okay, I'm just going to answer this one more, because there's any tips or advice on really getting into studying the Bible. Man, I know there are different methods, and people recommend different ways, doing about it this way, that way. I think just honestly, I think each person is different, and so I don't think there are helpful ways that you can, because I think for some people, never having read the Bible, they just go, I don't even know where to start. And so with that, I guess I think I would just start in a book. I think people usually recommend 1 John or the book of John and just starting there. But here's what I want to say. I think each person is wired differently, and so I'll just tell you what I do. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I'll usually have maybe around 4 books of the Bible that I'm going through. Sometimes 2 Old Testament, 2 New Testament, and I'll just read a chapter from each one. So maybe around 4 chapters a day. And really you can, it really doesn't matter how much you read. I think just kind of meditating on it, and just thinking on it and letting it sink in is good, because I think some people may think, okay, quantity. So okay, I'm just going to read the whole book of John in one sitting, but if you're just reading it like a newspaper, that's it's not reading just for the sake of reading. We're reading because we want to know God. We're trying to read this book that He's written to His people, and so I think whatever way you can go. If you just read a paragraph and you go, there's so much in there, and you're going to get stuff like that in the book of Romans. If you just sit on a there's times I'll just sit on a verse, and I'll just sit on a verse, and so I really, there's no mechanical way I think to do it. But if you are, if the question is coming out of, hey, I just picked up the Bible, I don't know how to do this, I would just encourage you to start in maybe 1 John. I know some people said James on there, and just go line by line. Just pray, God, please open up my mind to understand. I always pray that, God, please open my mind to understand this, because apart from you giving me understanding, I'm not gonna comprehend this. So open up the Bible. Just start with a verse. Start with a chapter. Man, and take your time. If you're a slow reader, read slow. If you're a fast reader and you can understand, read fast. It really doesn't matter how exactly you go about that. But am I still live here? Oh, frozen. 1 second. Okay, am I back on? Oh. Am I back on? Okay, good. All right, back on. Yeah, but man, I would just encourage you just start with a book and oh gee. Okay, yeah, I would just encourage you to start with the book of the Bible, and you know what I do is I have a journal, And like I've been lately, yesterday I think I was in the book of Proverbs, and I'll just write down verses or thoughts or different things that come to mind and journal. So um, I think that's a good thing to do if you like to journal. I really like to write, so I think that's helpful. So I think just start there, man, and maybe as you just come to things in the Bible, um, like I mean, just pray as you go. Like I think some people, like I've had times where I kind of separate, like, okay, I'm just going to read for this chunk of time and then pray. I know some people just like to incorporate it. As I read, I pray. Okay, I come to this verse. Um, all right, I'm just going to be praying about okay, it says Jesus is the bread of life, and just praying, God, would you reveal to me what that means? How can I let God, Christ, be bread to me today? Like just so I would just say just going that way. Um, really though, whatever way you feel comfortable with, but just getting into the Word. I think someone just said on there, just reading it, man, just digging in, and really believing that this is God breathed, um, and just asking God for a heart to want to know His Word, to want to know Him.